Hello and welcome to our webinar today, Canada plus Change.org equals victory. My name is Lauren Skardeska. I'm the nonprofit community manager at Change.org, and we're going to get started. I'm joined by Jordy Gold, our director of campaigns in Canada, as well as Lauren Draney, our campaigner in Canada. I want to give a rundown of the agenda real quick. We're going to tell you about Change.org. We're going to talk a little bit about petitions, email, and how they work into the ladder of engagement for your organization. We're going to go through some great petition examples of campaigns that have been run on Change.org in Canada. We're going to walk through the best practices for starting your petition for your organization's advocacy work. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how sponsored campaigns on Change.org can connect you to hundreds and thousands of the best supporters for your work. Finally, we'll have plenty of time for question and answers towards the end of the webinar. So please enter them in the chat on the left-hand side, and we love questions, so please let us know. So to get started, I want to tell you a little bit about Change.org. We are an open platform that empowers anyone, anywhere to start, join, and win campaigns about causes they care about. And importantly for all of you on the call today, Change.org also connects those individuals that are coming to Change.org to create change with organizations that are looking for passionate supporters for the advocacy work and the fundraising needs that they have. And we are very excited to say that now, in summer 2012, Change.org has folks on the ground, staff on the ground in Canada. And that's why we're here talking to all of you today. I want to let you know how your organization in Canada can benefit from the Change.org platform. So to tell you more about what Change.org is up to in Canada, here is Jordy Gold.
And so that's really what we're all about. We're very excited. We've started out with a bang. We now have this strong Canadian operation on the ground here in Canada. We're nearing 600,000 active Canadian members. We're very excited about what we've already been working on so far. And I'm going to introduce Lauren, my colleague here. She's going to say hello to you later on in the presentation, let you know about some of the good campaigns we've been running.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm a campaigner with Change.org, and I'm just really excited to see so many fantastic Canadian organizations represented here today.
Great. So Lawrence, I think you're going to pick things up in the next step here.
Yeah, thanks, Jordy. Oops, I advanced it one too far. Yes, so Change.org has been around for a few years, and we as Jordy said, we really consider ourselves an open platform that empowers anyone, anywhere to start, join, and win campaigns. And what that is really is the intersection of traditional advocacy and the information age. We are really an update on some age-old tactics that organizations like yours have been using for years to push the needle forward on campaigns and causes that they care about and they're working really hard to see happen in the world. And so I thought we'd take a quick look back at some of the traditional tactics that organizations have used and how they've been updated for the information age and the Internet and what that means as far as reaching new users. As you know, organizations are really trying to, nonprofit organizations, charities, the NGOs, they're all trying to achieve some kind of change in the world. Some really big, beautiful, bold missions. And to do that, they operate campaigns. They'll run campaigns with different tactics and strategies that are smaller pieces of their bigger mission that include tactics like lobbying, direct action, letter writing, gathering signatures on handwritten petitions, rallies and marches, and et cetera. And these have all been really successful and important ways for organizations to engage new supporters, to raise awareness about their cause. But in the age of information, many of these tactics can be conducted efficiently and effectively online in a way that's complementary with traditional tactics. And as people have new ways of expressing support and getting involved with causes that they care about through the Internet, tactics like social media and email and online petitions are really important, increasingly important to meet people where they're at, to tell them about how they can help you with your cause and why it's important for them. All this means it's easier than ever for organizations to find supporters for their campaigns. And at Change.org, we have built the best tools on the Internet to help you do that. And one example I'll show really quickly of a petition that has happened in the last few months is this screenshot that you're seeing of a petition started by the parents of Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old who was shot and killed in Florida, in the United States, a few months back. And it was a really terrible tragedy, and not knowing really where to go to find support for justice for their son. Trayvon's parents created a petition on change.org that received well over 2 million signatures. And what that shows is that there's hundreds of thousands, millions of individuals that are interested in expressing their voice, making their voices heard about causes that they care about. And petitions, online petitions, have become a really important way for them to be able to do that, make sure their voices are heard. And I think the Trayvon petition also shows that change.org petitions are really simple to use and very social. And that is, they're authorized for sharing via email, Facebook, and Twitter. And some news outlets were calling this petition the most viral petition of all time. Within a matter of days, we were over 1 million signatures. So that's really incredible. And again, speaks to how individuals are coming to change.org to be involved with causes that they're interested in and they want to have a voice in. And that really includes issues that all of you are working on every day. And while that's been happening, we've seen some pretty incredible growth. So this next slide is just a quick run-through of some numbers that give you a sense of where we're headed. We're seeing over 10 million active users each month coming back to our site across the globe in over 150 countries to weigh in on causes that they care about. And organizations are seeing that. They're seeing that this is where people are coming to be engaged, and so they're creating petitions as well. Over 15,000 organizations have collected more than 21 million signatures on petitions that are integrated with the campaigns that they're running, both online and offline. And we've also seen some really strong growth in Canada in just the last few months. And so Lauren is going to tell us a little bit about how things are going in Canada.
Right. Okay, so at the moment we have around 600,000 Canadian members, and we're growing fast. So just to illustrate that, I remember from my job interview back in February, I was told that I would have around 200,000 Canadian members to work with, and today we have 600,000. And not only are we seeing an increase in the number of members, but we're also seeing an increase in the diversity of members across different regions of the country and across different issue areas and across the political spectrum. And all of this happened at a time when we were facing the significant barrier of the site being very American. So I'm happy to say that as of Tuesday, we now have a Canadian-specific site. So beyond the painstaking work with our fantastic engineering team to insert the correct spellings of words like color and neighbor, we now have a Canadian site featuring Canadian petitions on our homepage, so users can easily find content relevant to them.
How do you do that?
Back to you, Lauren.
Search things?
Great, thanks, Lauren. Super excited about being local to Canada as of this week. I think that it's just really a great moment for change.org to be even more accessible to folks in Canada, both individuals and organizations, to use to support the great work that they're doing out there. And we're going to talk a bit more about how petitions fit into that work. But I want to just take a breather for a moment and talk about our first takeaway for the petition, that as we've seen, online petitions really do complement traditional advocacy tactics and fundraising strategies. We'll see some awesome examples of that in a minute when Lauren walks us through 2 campaigns that were run in Canada on change.org. But really wanted to emphasize that online petitions have become an important way for organizations to take their campaigns online and in an integrated fashion with their broader campaigns. Okay, so I'm going to move into a little bit of the theory about why online petitions are an important tactic for organizations. We're looking right now at a slide that gives us a visual of the ladder of engagement. And I'm going to mute.
The conference has been muted.
Heard some background noise there, so apologies for that. I just muted folks. Again, we're looking at a slide called the ladder of engagement. And what the ladder of engagement is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a portrayal of how supporters become more engaged with organizations over time. It's really a model for how we can conceive of introducing our causes and our campaigns to new supporters, and slowly over time involving them with more involved and deeper connection to our causes and our organization. So we start simply with simple actions like Facebook, liking a Facebook post, or signing an online petition. Then over time, developing a more deep relationship with individuals, and eventually conversing with them via email to be involved with potentially a protest or demonstration, or maybe donating to your organization. So the ladder of engagement is a really key strategy and an important framework to think about your supporters over time. And we think that the online petition is a really amazing way to take a signature and turn it into an email over time. And you can see that we have sort of the arrow pointing from sympathizers and signatures to supporters and email. And why is email so important? I'm sure many of you know that email is a really valuable way to communicate with your users. And this quick graphic shows that the volume of email still dwarfs social media. It's the most popular way continually for individuals to communicate online, even with the rise in popularity of social media and SMS messaging and text messaging. Email is just a really critical channel for us to be communicating with our supporters. And as we think about email, we have to think about cultivating that email relationship in a very gradual and sensitive way. And this next slide talks a little bit about how important email is and how we need to think about email with our constituents and our supporters. Email really is a valuable commodity, not only because of its broad adoption, but also it's a very direct and personal way to contact your supporters. It's a permission for individuals to be in touch with them. It's also a really tough channel to use. Your attention is brief, and you have to send good emails. You have to be planning for your email strategy over time. And over time, and this goes back to the ladder of engagement, you need to be training, quote unquote, or sort of working with supporters and letting them know why they should be caring about your organization, so that when you do eventually ask them for donations, they're ready, they're there, they're bought in, they know your story, and they want to work with you. So email really is an important way for your organization to be more effective in its work, and online petitions are great avenues to get there. But that's just one of the benefits of online petitions. So Jordy's going to talk a bit now about other benefits that petitions can bring your organization and the campaigns you're working on. Hey there, Jordy, you might be muted. Oh, I think I need to unmute Jordy.
The conference has been unmuted.
Apologies, you're ready to go, Jordy.
No problem, fantastic. So we just covered off the importance of email, and it really brings us back to this question, but still really, why is it that online petitions are that important or that valuable? Well, what we found is you can accomplish a number of very important goals very effectively and all at the same time using online petitions. First, really, they're just a very easy way to engage new supporters and promote your organization and your cause. You can get somebody easily to come and sign a petition. It's very simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. And as we said, that's a really great way to get people started to get on that ladder of engagement.
Instead of looking at this picture, we should be looking
Now, moving on, what we found is that journalists love change.org. We make their jobs very easy. We come up with all kinds of very powerful stories and narratives, David and Goliath situations, and journalists think this is great. It's just a great source of stories and information. So we have lots of mainstream coverage in the U.S. It's definitely starting to roll here in Canada, getting lots of coverage in the Globe and Mail and Toronto Star, CBC. I was literally on the phone about a recent campaign, Victory, actually, just yesterday with CBC about a major interview that they plan to do. really everything from things like the live signature totals on the petition pages, which people find very exciting, to the personal stories and comments that get put on the petition pages. These are all really great sources of information for journalists, and we've had far more than just one top-tier journalist tell us quietly that they regularly are coming to our site to find the new stories that they are planning on reporting on. Now, moving forward, what is really most important for you here is to know that if you're doing advocacy work, online petitions provide this tremendous avenue for both pushing forward your cause but putting pressure on whomever you're targeting. So if you're looking to try and change something in the world that requires a politician to make a change, or a company, or an organization, then online petitions are a tremendous way of applying that pressure. And so, for example, you need to know every time someone comes to the site and puts their signature on a petition that you started, it then sends an email with a letter that you have written to that target. So if you're trying to change a politician, if you're trying to change a company, and you get 10,000 signatures on a petition, well, that's 10,000 emails that will be sent to that target, which creates all kinds of pressure and really motivates them to act and do something about what it is you're talking about. All of these different factors really come together and provide great awareness both for your organization and the cause that you're talking about. So really, in conclusion in this section, what we find the takeaway is that online petitions effectively combine a number of tactics. They are a powerful way to engage your supporters. They can generate all kinds of media coverage, and they can create real pressure on decision makers. I just want to pause for a second. Again, we mentioned earlier, you can always go on the left side of your screen and put any questions you have in there. Certainly, we don't want to sort of talk through the entire presentation. If you have any questions, do please feel free to throw anything in there. We'd be happy to answer a couple questions. And if there aren't any right now, in a moment, I'll pass it on to Lauren. Oh, we have a question. The question is, Henrietta Thompson's asking, how do you measure the effectiveness of an email? Can you tell when a policy or another change can be attributed to the email campaign or has been contributed in a particular way? It's a fantastic question. There are a number of different ways of measuring and deciding, are we having an impact? Certainly when things like a target contacts change.org or directly gets in touch with the petition starter or is questioned by someone in the media specifically about a petition page, we know we're having a real impact. It's not always cut and dry. There are times where a petition perhaps puts some pressure on while other organizations act. We have lots of other examples we could dive into perhaps towards the end of the presentation and just show how it's very clear in many cases that it was primarily a petition on change.org that really helped to drive that. Now,
real quick, Jordy, before we move on, I've just got a poll up. I would really love to know if you created an online petition before. We are extolling the virtues of online petitions and the change.org platform for creating them, but it's really helpful for us to know if you have experience with online petitions. Like Jordy said, if you have questions about using online petitions, please let us know, because we are here to help answer your questions and make sure that you're using online petitions and our tools as effectively as possible. But it doesn't look like we have any more questions at the moment, so why don't we move ahead?
Yeah, let's pass it off to Lauren.
Okay, so now we're going to get into talking about actual examples of what we did on the website, or campaigns that have been run on the website. But before we start, I just want to talk about kind of what we found makes the most successful kind of petition on change.org. And we use an acronym for that that we call DIRTY. So first, the D, they're dramatic. Second, the I, they're inspiring. Often they're told through the lens of a personal story. They're relevant. It's really clear how the issue touches people's lives. And they're timely. They're often based around urgent upcoming moments, or maybe they even just play off a recent news story. So, that being said, I'd like to get into a couple examples of how organizations have used change.org. So, okay, this is one of the first campaigns we ran when Jordy and I started. So, the Vancouver Humane Society, along with animal advocacy organizations across Canada and the U.S., had been lobbying Tim Hortons for almost 5 years to improve their animal welfare practices, and in this time they received practically no response from the company. Then in March, the Vancouver Humane Society launched a petition on change.org asking Tim Hortons to phase out the use of battery cages for chickens and gestation crates for sows. And by the time that their AGM rolled around in May, the campaign had 45,000 signatures, and Tim Hortons had agreed to phase out the sale of pork from gestation crates and to source 10% of their eggs from enriched hen housing, which is slightly larger cages. So it wasn't a full victory, but it was a really impressive first step from a company that really had made no animal welfare commitments in the past. So some of the, just breaking this down slightly, the Vancouver Humane Society chose a relevant subject, Tim Hortons, which is probably the best known brand in the country. They also chose a great moment, the lead up to their annual general meeting when they knew the company would be under more scrutiny than normal and would be receiving more media attention. And also at this time, several major fast food chains, including Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's, had each made animal welfare commitments. And so the story was in the news and on people's minds. And I think, when this petition started to go viral, I think it was really shocking for many people to learn that Tim Hortons was lagging behind these other fast food chains. And now the best part of the whole thing is that the Vancouver Humane Society and Leanne McConaughey, who was the woman who, she's their farm animal director, she now has 48,000 people that she can mobilize in the future to make sure that Tim Hortons keeps their word. Which brings me to my next point. Let me advance this slide. One of the great things about change.org is that you're able to mobilize your supporters who have signed your petition to take part in other actions as well. So when this campaign was in full force, VHS invited petition signers to post on Tim Hortons' Facebook wall, asking them to improve their practices. And this resulted in their Facebook wall being taken over with comments streaming in for about 48 hours. And I think it's just a great example of a digital tactic that goes beyond the petition. So next slide. This is one that was run in 2011. So a Vancouver-based organization called Shark Truth, which campaigns in cities across the country for bans on the sale of shark projects, decided to use change.org petitions as part of the larger movement they're building. So this is an example of a petition they launched in conjunction with other shark activists, asking each and every member of Toronto City Council to ban the sale of shark products in Toronto. They received nearly 10,000 signatures, and Council voted 38-4 in favor of the ban. Shark Truth now has another petition asking Vancouver City Council for the same, and they've been using this Vancouver petition as a placeholder for their supporters, so that they're ready to mobilize when Shark Truth has built up more political pressure behind the scenes in Vancouver. So next, so I just threw up this slide quickly. This is a Toronto Star article about the ban in Toronto. So just re-emphasizing the point that Jordy made before, large numbers on petitions are often, a new and appealing angle for supporters, particularly when something has grown virally. And that coverage, in turn, can significantly drive up the number of supporters for your campaign and for your movement in general. So the takeaway from this section is that people are using change.org to create moments, but organizations can use change.org to build their movements. And so let's see if we have any other questions.
Yeah, there's a question from Alex about the cost for our services and access. This next section we're going to go into is an overview of our free services. Creating petitions is free, and when you create a petition as an organization, as you'll see, you get access to some amazing list building opportunities. And then we also do have paid services if you're really serious about growing your list and connecting to new supporters. But we have a ton of awesome free tools for organizations and individuals to use. And then before we move into the next section, there was another question from Karen about the status of the petition for presentation to MPs and in the House. And maybe Jordy or Lauren, if you want to take that.
Yep, I can definitely take that one. The situation is that for a formal presentation or formal lodging of petitions in the House of Commons, you do need to go through this very bureaucratic process. It's very tight, rigid process to have them formally introduced, which we've seen many people actually try to launch those kinds of petitions or get those kinds of signatures accumulated. They're not very attractive. They're not very easy to use. You don't generally get very many people to actually sign them. And then the other part is really kind of where we come in is really the court of public opinion. So we've already had members of parliament quietly tell us that they would be very happy if there's a particular issue comes up, and we had one particular issue come up already. I don't know if I can publicly discuss it just yet. It hasn't been publicly presented, but we did have one member of parliament already tell us that they would be more than happy to take the thousands of signatures from a particular petition on change.org and to basically table that or present that on the floor of the House of Commons, even though it didn't necessarily follow the formal guidelines of the federal government, in which case it still has a major impact, in which case it gets lots of profile, in which case the media is going to cover it. So that's how that works.
Great. Thanks, Jordy. And keep those questions coming. We love them. And we're now going to take a stroll through the process of creating a petition on change.org. So as I mentioned, when you create a petition on change.org as an organization, you have some benefits that individuals don't get. So the important first step in using change.org for your organization is to create a profile for your organization. And you do that by clicking the link in the lower left-hand side of the footer on our website. It's highlighted in yellow on this slide that says Add an Organization. And it'll walk you through a few quick steps to get your organization up and online on change.org. You're going to want to make sure that you have an image and a brief description as well as a website, because this is, when folks sign your petition, they'll see it's created from you, and this is an important branding opportunity for you to educate folks that might be exposed to your work through this petition and future petitions that you create. So once you get that done, you are ready to start a petition. And moving on to the next slide here, you can see that we have a few things on this screen highlighted. We get to the screen by clicking on the Start a Petition button in the header of our website, and that takes you to the Start a Petition page, which asks you 3 important questions. Who do you want to petition? What do you want them to do? And why is this important? So these are the core elements of your petition. And you also, I should note here, you'll see another field highlighted in yellow. That's a drop-down that enables you to start a petition as an organization or as yourself. And again, start as an organization, and you'll see why in a minute. So getting back to those questions, we need to take some time here to think about those answers, because it really, as I said, is the core of your petition and becomes a big part of whether or not this petition is effective and appealing to new supporters. So let's start with number 2 first. That really is the goal that you're trying to achieve. And when you're thinking about your goal, as we talked about the mission of nonprofits being big and sort of idealistic, sometimes to achieve those big changes, we need to take small steps to get there. And we need to be realistic about what an online petition can do. So when we're starting a petition, we need to choose a goal that's specific and achievable, something that we have reason that is possible, that we know the steps to get there. Ending world hunger is a wonderful goal, but it's pretty impractical to think that an online petition or an online campaign is going to get us there within a few months. So what you could do, however, is start a campaign to save the funding for a local food bank or some other step along the way to ending world hunger. So when you're choosing your goal, think of something that's specific and achievable. And once you have that goal in mind, you'll be able to take a step back and answer question number 1, which is who do you want to petition? And this is also a really important point, because as we've seen, the answer to this question determines who receives the email that gets sent every time your petition is signed. And when you're thinking about who you should target as a decision maker, think about someone that actually can make the decision or enact the change that you want to see. And this could be an elected official, as we just talked about. It could be a business or an individual. You know your issues and you know what the pressure points are. So choose the right person that can help you make a change. choosing someone at the highest levels of government may not be the most practical because they might not actually have the power. Well, they have the power in theory, but in practice, they might not be the one that actually implements that change. Finally, once you have your goal and the decision maker that you're going to target, you need to tell the story about your campaign. Why should others care? And think about the DIRTY acronym that Lauren talked about: dramatic, inspiring, relevant, and timely. So while you're doing that, describe the problem and the solution you're trying to achieve, and why it's important that individuals take action. How does it intersect with their lives? Why does this petition, or why does this campaign, of all the other things that are going on in the world, why is it important to them? And if you have research or references, don't be afraid to add them here, because that really lends some heft, some legitimacy to your work that is important for a lot of folks that sign petitions. We see that people really do want to know that a campaign is well researched and it has some weight behind it. Okay, and with that, you want to start your petition. Click the Start a Petition button, and you will be taken to a page that is kind of a bare bones petition. We're looking at a demo petition I created to the City of Oakland to save the trees along the Lake Merritt area. I've lived in Oakland in California, and I care about it, so this is sort of an example of some petition that I would create. But we can see here that the petition looks a little empty, a little bare bones. There's no image. The title is a little long and wonky, and so we need to take some steps to optimize this petition to get ready to share. To do that, click on the Manage My Petition button that's highlighted in the upper right-hand corner, and you will go to the Edit Your Petition page. And there are just a few more things that we need to do on this page. These are really sort of the best practices for optimizing your petition. You've chosen the person or department in this case that you're targeting. You also want to enter their email. If you don't enter their email, they're not going to receive those petition letters on the behalf of everyone that signed their petition. And it really does make a big difference when someone sees email after email after email telling the same story about why people care about this petition and this cause. So don't forget to add the email. And you can also add multiple targets and elected officials. So if you have other folks that might be able to influence the core decision maker or primary decision maker, or perhaps you're targeting multiple elected officials, add them. You can add as many as you want. I would say here, though, don't target press. As much as you want to let press know about your campaign and your petition, adding them as an email target, and when they start to receive hundreds or thousands of emails, that doesn't go well. So certainly include your petition in your press outreach, but don't list press here. And scrolling down the screen, we see a few more items that we need to take care of. And primary among them is the petition image. So you can upload an image. You can also embed a video. If you have a video or on YouTube or Vimeo, if you have some video collateral that you've developed, or potentially a video of the injustice you're trying to stop, maybe a video of clear cutting or some human rights violation, that's a great hook for your petition, and that's something that gets shared online via Facebook and Twitter and email. So especially for Facebook, when you're creating an image, think about an image that works well in other formats and other sizes. Choose an image that's bright and colorful and bold and engaging, but also not too detailed with a lot of small text. If you use text, that won't appear well when you're sharing it with Facebook. Moving down the page, you want to add you may want to add a custom title. This is where you can overwrite the default formula of who you're targeting and what you're asking them to do. So when you're doing this, think about something that's shorter, snappy, engaging, something that's catchy, that really speaks to the reason why individuals would want to check out this petition. And when people do see this petition, when they're exposed to it, it's most likely going to be the title and the image that they see. So those are just the two parts that you really want to spend some time optimizing. Brainstorm, talk to your colleagues, talk to friends, maybe test a few different titles out. And generally, with all these things, you want to be experimenting. Try a few different petitions. If something doesn't work, try again. And when it does work, you'll know. People will be signing it. You'll get great feedback and comments. You'll see some shares on Facebook. So don't be afraid to experiment. And I should say that while we're talking right now, Change.org is there waiting for you, and I would be honored if you were to be trying out pre-petitions right now, just checking out what you can do and getting a feel for how these tools work. Finally, the petition letter is, as we've been talking about, the email that gets sent to targeted decision makers. So take some time, work on that decision or that petition letter, and optimize it so that write it in a polite and succinct but authoritative tone to your decision maker. You're asking them to help you. So this petition letter needs to reflect the ongoing conversation that you're having with them. And we have seen that decision makers are most responsive to well thought out, well-researched requests and petition letters. So take a little time doing that. Once you have the petition letter set, this petition is ready to go. We'll hit save, and we have a petition that's ready to share. And to get there, another takeaway, we walked through the winning petition checklist of achievable ask, specific targeting for a decision maker, telling a compelling story, and finding a provocative image and an engaging title really to get people into the fold and interested in your petition. And this is what the petition that I created, the demonstration petition, looks like. You'll see that there's a nice image here. The petition letter is short and sweet, but this is really ready to go. And once you sign your petition, you'll be prompted to start sharing it. So this really gets us into the active life cycle of the petition once you started it. You can see that we have buttons to share via email, on Facebook, and on Twitter up at the top of the screen here. And these are the three primary ways that we've optimized Change.org petitions to be spread online. Of course, you can post the link to this petition anywhere you'd like. And what this really enables us to do is to broaden the distribution of our cause and get the petition out to new members through the network effect of folks sharing with their networks that we don't have a connection to. And I was going to turn it over to Jordy at this point to talk about other ways that you can promote your petition. Jordy, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Basically, there's lots of different opportunities and ways that you can share the petitions and the campaigns that you're working on. I'm sure all of you have built up email lists over time that would be very effective, where you already have people who are clearly interested in your cause. You hopefully have Facebook groups or fan pages and Twitter profiles that you can use. We have a widget that you can take and put that directly on a blog post or on a web page on, say, your site or on your blog that helps people in a very interactive way see where the state of the petition's at and be able to click on that and sign the petition from there. You can also reach out to any local bloggers or allies that you might have. And certainly, I mean, what we can do is you want to include the link for your petition page every time that you're putting out any kind of press material at all. Now, moving on to the next slide, I think, Laura,
I threw in another poll here. Sorry to surprise you, Jordy.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
When we're talking about how to promote petitions, I'd just be curious how all of you use online media or offline media to promote your campaigns. If you feel like sharing with us, that would be great. This poll might give you some ideas as well about how to promote your campaign. We've seen some interesting use of Facebook ads and Google ads, like Jordy said, including links to your petitions or campaigns and press releases is a really great way to broaden the reach of your campaigns. But basically wanted to hear a bit about how you've done campaign promotion, but also get you thinking about other ways that you can do it. And we see on this list email to in-house list and email to paid acquisition list. And so that gets into the final part of our presentation today to talk about list growth opportunities through change.org, both for free and through our paid services. As we talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation, email list growth is really at the forefront of the minds of any nonprofit development professional or communications professional. And the graphic on the right here shows that email, and the variation on the graphic we saw earlier, that email dwarfs the presence of nonprofits on Facebook and Twitter and mobile lists. That for every 1,000 email subscribers, nonprofits generally only have about 110 Facebook users, et cetera. And this speaks to how important email is, and there's a few different ways that organizations have used to grow their list over time. Got a list here of some of those things: face-to-face events, promotions and giveaways, obviously a website sign-up. If you're smart about capturing people that come to your website, you have a form where they can fill out and join your mailing list. Through social media, putting out an ask to sign your mailing list there. And then, as we've been talking about, using online petitions and paid acquisition. So I want to go through those two here and let you know what you can do for free on change.org as an organization. So when you create a petition on change.org, say you have 100 people sign your petition. A certain number of those folks will actually, well, all those folks will see a little box that enables them to opt into communications with your group. And a certain number of those folks will check that box. So just by running a free petition on change.org, you will be able to have access to the email and location information for a subset of the individuals that have signed your petition, that have opted in to further communications with your group. Now, this is not going to be everyone that signed your petition, and we can't guarantee that these are new individuals to your organization. However, I think it's a really awesome and an amazing opportunity for organizations to get their feet wet with using online petitions as a way to cultivate new supporters and work them up the ladder of engagement. And the email and location gives you the ability to target folks over time for more involved asks or for donation. And we're really excited to be able to share that with folks in Canada, because we know that email list growth, as we've been talking about, it's just a really important part of any organization's long-term goals for advocacy or for fundraising. And for organizations that are really ready to take the next step, that are potentially have an email marketing campaign, have already been doing fundraising and donations through email, this is where change.org really shines. We have, which is not really as public, because this is our core offering for our clients. Most folks that come to change.org don't realize that we support the work of organizations through our sponsored campaigns. And what our sponsored campaigns are is really an opportunity for organizations to promote their causes and campaigns to highly targeted members on our platform that are predetermined to be more likely to interact and to care about the causes that those organizations are working on. And when we promote your campaign to our members through our paid services sponsored campaigns, we are finding those folks in the change.org community that have signed petitions that are most along the lines of petitions that you might create or the causes that your organization is working on. And we can also geo-target. So we can find folks in a particular province or in a country in Europe if you're running a campaign globally. And this is a really unparalleled way for you to connect with new supporters in a fashion that brings warm to very hot leads to you, instead of the colder leads that organizations often get through something like face-to-face events. And we ran a webinar actually just recently with Forest Ethics, and they're a U.S.-based nonprofit, but they've been very active in Canada to preserve forest ecosystems in the north. And the recent campaign they ran against Enbridge and the tar sands crude oil pipeline that's been in the works for some time, they made the comment on the webinar that the names that they've seen come through in-person and face-to-face events can't compare to the performance and the engagement of those names that they've gotten through acquisition sources like change.org. So when you run a sponsored campaign, you get full contact information, email, address, and location. Again, you get new, highly targeted supporters, and you know what you're getting. You know how much you're spending, and you know what that means over time as far as an ROI. So just want to give you a little bit of a sort of insight into what's possible there. Be happy to talk to you more about that. But really from free to paid and from individuals to organizations, Change.org is working every day around the world to build a platform that enables folks to bring about the change that they want to see. And we're proud to do it and really glad to have all of you on the call today to share it with you. So we're going to take some more questions here and wrap up, but I really do want to encourage you to try online petitions, try fooling around with our platform, see how it works for you. And if you have questions, Lauren and Jordy and I are here to help, whether it's on the technical end of how petitions work and getting started, or maybe you're interested in a sponsor campaign, we can help, and we're here to talk with you. So we have a couple questions coming in, I think. So Pauline has a question about using email lists in a sensitive way. And she says, I love the follow-up option in terms of engaging supporters in the campaign, but it's also important to be sensitive about not bombarding people with information or requests. And so how do you find a balance? I'll give an answer, and then maybe I'll turn it over to Jordy and Lauren. And I think that, Pauline, you're right on as far as how to manage your email list. And the only way to do it is to know your supporters and think of them not as emails, but think of them as your friends and individuals. And so to really be tracking metrics like click-through rate and open rate in an email is important to judge how the content you're sending is received by your list and your friends on that list. So experimenting over time is important, experimenting with everything from the content to the format of your email to the frequency of your email. All these things give you information over time about what works best for your individuals, your individuals on your list. And then also, when you get more involved with your list, you can start to segment folks that are very active supporters, people that want to hear from you on a more regular basis, that are more willing to appear at events or to donate. These are your really active supporters, and that might be a separate segment of your list that you email more frequently compared to your broader list. So the only thing I can say is that finding that balance takes some experimentation. Jordy or Lauren, anything to add to that question?
I don't know if there's anything tremendous more to add to that. I think you covered it fairly well. It really is, as you said, knowing your supporters, knowing what their habits are, and we really have a wide range of fantastic internal metrics that we can look at all the time, and over time see sort of are our members as active as they were 2 weeks ago? Are they opening a particular type of email or interested in a particular area more than something else? Are they opting out of getting further emails? We can track and follow all of these things very carefully. We have the utmost respect and level of sensitivity in terms of dealing with our members. It doesn't do us any good if we send them the wrong information or too much information, that kind of thing. So yeah, really just sort of echoing what you said. I don't know, Lauren, if you have anything to add.
I think you both covered it.
Yeah, I think that's it. All right. Do you want to jump to a new question, Lawrence?
Yeah, go for it, Jordy. We have a couple that have come in. Let's see. Hannah asked, do organizations get access to the lists for petitions they launch differentiated by country and province? So, Hannah, I'm not too sure if the sponsor campaign overview answered your question, but when you download a list of supporters, whether it's the free opt-ins to your petition or the sponsor campaigns that you would run in partnership with us, they do include location, that's country, province, and but it doesn't include the free opt-ins from your basic petition doesn't include address, and so that's a prime distinction between the two. And then Hannah has a follow-up question about how many members there are in BC and on what kinds of issues are they engaged. I'm not too sure if we can speak to that level of specificity just yet, but Lauren and Jordy might have an idea because you guys are in touch with the Canadian membership quite a bit.
I don't, neither of us have that number off the top of our heads, but Hannah, if you're really interested in starting a campaign in BC, we'd be happy to follow up with you with more specific details there. And as for what kind of issues are they engaged in, I would say top issues for BC would be environment and animals. But people are really engaged in the whole spectrum of issues we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got everything in British Columbia. We have people trying to get Pavel Bure getting his number retired by the Vancouver Canucks. We had a popular campaign that someone put up where their bar establishment was losing the right to have video games in their establishment, and that was a big deal, and they made a fantastic video for it, and that took off. Yeah, generally I'd say environment and salmon and those types of things, the salmon flu and the viruses, those types of campaigns are very popular, but really there's a wide range of campaigns out in British Columbia.
Great. Question from Alex about the security on our technology, and I can say that our security is excellent. We were the subject of a coordinated hacking attack from somewhere originating in China last year, and that was because of a campaign that was very popular on our website to free the Chinese dissident artist Ai Weiwei. And after that, the site was down, and we've always taken security issues very seriously, but certainly after that we doubled down, and we are very concerned not only about security but privacy. And here in San Francisco in the United States, we've got just an amazing team of engineers, folks that are cream of the crop, and they really are the key to the success of the platform, and very concerned about security of your information and our users' information. So I think that's about all I can say, is that we're best in class as far as that goes. Moving on to questions, I think Karen has a question about data being stored on a server in Canada. I don't believe that our data is stored on the server in Canada. I believe it's stored on a server in the United States, and all of our global information is there. I don't know how that'll change over time, but if that's a concern for you, we'd love to hear what that concern is. But really, we just moved our data center to be at a location that is for top-tier traffic websites globally, and we just essentially upgraded our hosting service so that we can be as responsive as possible, considering the amazing amount of traffic that we get over time when petitions take off. And that's kind of bringing us to the close of the questions, it looks like. I'm going to go to this last slide here and mention that we do have some amazing guides on change.org at change.org/guides that do a deeper dive into some of the topics we've talked about, whether it's targeting or writing a petition letter, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to take advantage of those. And as I've mentioned, we would love to hear from you. This is Lauren's address. We will be following up with a video of this presentation, and you'll be able to respond to that if you want to talk to us with further questions. But please do let us know. And since there are no other questions, I think we'll just wrap up. Lauren and Dirty, do you want to say thanks to folks?
Thanks, guys. I'm really excited to hear from you soon.
Yeah, this is great. We had a lot of people here today and covered a lot of important stuff, and really excited to see the campaigns you all decide to put on the site.
Yeah, contact me anytime if you want help, starting something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're excited to see your campaigns online, and we will be the first to sign them. So thanks very much, and we will see you online. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. Please stand by.